We're live.
Good morning. Happy Sunday, Monday. Today what we're going to talk about is how important it is to have a good pet sitter and how literally your homestead could be in danger if you don't have a good pet sitter. And we'll just talk about a few reasons why that could be. For one, here's what I'm thinking. If you have bigger animals like I do, I have my mule, my donkey, my pony, like horses or whatever you have. If you're away and you get a call from somebody, your horses are loose or whatever, you have got to have a great pet sitter that's going to run over there, catch your horses, figure out what's going on, mend your fence or whatever. You have to have somebody that's on their toes, ready to solve the problem. Or even better yet, that what we do is we get a house sitter, somebody that stays on the property while you're gone. If you do have a lot of animals and a bigger homestead with more going on, that's even a better way to do it than just a pet sitter that comes and visits for feeding time and just feeds. Unless, of course, it's like your neighbor who's next door and who can see, they're close enough, they can see what's going on over there. That would work as well. But having a really good pet sitter is so important. Also, you want to treat this person well because sometimes you have to go away on short notice, and it's good to be able to just ring them up and just be like, hey, I need you like this weekend or whatever. And they love you because you just treat them well over the years. And if their schedule's clear or they can squeeze you in, they're like, yeah, no problem. And you're just like, oh, it just makes you so happy because, it's not easy to try to replace a pet sitter or to find a new pet sitter to come and pet sit a homestead. A lot of people are afraid of bigger animals. They might not mind doing a cat or a little dog, but if you have a bigger guard dog or you have, let's just say like my mule, he's big and powerful and they're not like a cute little friendly pony. It's a different kind of an animal. They might just be leery of that. And if it gets loose, they're going to be scared to go catch it or whatever. If it's tangled in a fence, they're going to be scared to go untangle it and maybe cut the wire and get them out of there. So you have to have like a skilled pet sitter if you have a bigger homestead. Also, like I have my turtle who I love, Daisy. So you have to have a pet sitter who's willing to take care of an animal like that as well, which is different than just like, oh, take care of the cat. She's got different needs. And maybe not everybody is like willing to like touch a reptile and pick it up or whatever. So, it's just very important, excuse me, of, just finding the right pet sitter for your homestead and your situation. I know homesteads have just such a variety of animals. You can have cows, goats, some people have llamas. I've been to homesteads with emus on them. There's just such a wide range of, animals you can have on your homestead. So it's really important just to find the perfect person to be your homesteader or house sitter like we like. And, not everybody is willing to stay at your house while you go away either. You have to try to find somebody who's willing to do that as well. So I say it's worth every effort to find a person like that and develop a really good relationship with them. Treat them well. You have to do stuff for them and they do stuff for you. Like it's a relationship. And so you just have that strong bond there to help each other. And it just pays off years to come. You just have that strong relationship. So you're not trapped, literally trapped on your homestead. Because sometimes our dream can end up being kind of a trap, where you're stuck. And of course, yes, I want to live on my homestead forever and I love this place, but it is nice to get off the homestead and go somewhere and, go to, let's just say the beach or, go visit family members in another state, maybe, quickly, or like I like to go horse camping. So to go for a long weekend somewhere else, it is nice to be able to get off the homestead as well. So that's why for us, it's so important to have a good homesteader. And sometimes if you have another family member that has a homestead as well, that doesn't really work good to have them for your homestead, for your house sitter, pet sitter, because it's like they already have a burden of, taking care of all their animals. And so, sometimes that doesn't work out really well for them to be your pet sitter. You have to you just got to find somebody and figure it out. You know what I mean? A lot of times they have a lot going on their homestead and their busy schedule, or, they're just not close enough. You just have to, family members don't always work out to be a regular pet sitter. Unless you have enough room on your homestead and extra pens, they can just bring the animals to your place and they can just pet sit in that way, which, there's a lot of options. You could do that. They'll be like, yeah, bring them over. You're just basically boarding them, kind of like pet sitting in that way, which totally works if everybody's willing to do that. That is probably a better scenario if you plan on going for like a 2-week vacation somewhere. You don't want to be driving to somebody's house, for 2 weeks, or, you're not going to go stay at somebody's house for 2 weeks. That's a very long time to have somebody house sit. So in that case, when you have a homestead, you have plenty of room. Like, yeah, bring them over here. They can just stay over here, add them to the group, and pet sit that way.
Do you want to talk about the porch, taking the porch off?
Okay, well, before I talk about the porch, what I want to talk about is what I did this week with this little counter right here.
Want me to zoom in on it?
Okay, so Scott can show you the room. Don't just give a little pan of the whole room.
Do you want me to tilt down just so they can see it? Because I have to tilt down.
Yeah, I left the broom right there though because I was standing on some sand, but I wanted you to just show the whole room real quick, just so people can see. Show the whole room.
Okay.
So everybody.
Do you want me to tilt down and show the counter?
After you show the whole room.
Okay, so I'm gonna pan.
Pan the whole room so everybody can just see. I've been like just kind of rearranging, and I'm going to explain why I want you to see the whole room is because I wanted to get this counter smaller and against the wall so there's more room around the table, which gives more room for the sofa, people to sit on the sofa. So basically just make this room more functional and just roomier for every station.
Do you like our yellow IKEA chairs? I love those things.
So I just wanted to make it like when you're on the sofa, it's enough room. When you're at the table, there's plenty of room, which seats 6 people, which I love that. We even crowd more than that around there. And then I just need a little kitchen. I'm a good cook, and I don't need a lot of room to cook. And with this counter...
I can't see the counter unless I tilt it down.
Okay, so he's going to have to show you the counter.
It's not a very wide lens.
Okay, so it's 75 inches long. And it's only 20 inches wide, but like I said, I'm a good cook and I don't need tons of room to cook. I just need a little area. And then I made 2 shelves underneath. So there's a lot of shelving here, even though it's not super wide.
This counter actually has a lot of drama with it because we bought it at Sam's Club?
Yes.
I think.
It's like just some workstation that would go in your garage.
It has a very nice metal frame.
Very sturdy.
But then when I was remodeling my house to sell it, I was redoing the kitchen, and I'm like, instead of going out because money was very tight, and I'm like, instead of going out and buying a countertop, let me just steal this countertop from this work table because it just bolts it on. And so I took it and put it in my house to sell it. And I'm like, listen, when we sell the house, once we move to Homestead Park, we can just get a nice countertop for this now, And so even though the plywood's on here, if you like the plywood, we could keep that forever, or now you can just put stone right on top of it.
This is not to keep forever.
Yeah.
But Scott's not telling the whole story, though, because let me tell you what he does. Everybody knows Scott had his own house, and we're just consolidating temporarily until we get onto Homestead Park. But this is what my son does. He buys stuff, and he doesn't like it. He's picky about furniture, and so it's nice stuff, but then he brings it over here. And so he's done this his whole life. And so I'm always like, because he doesn't want to throw it away or anything, because we hate to throw anything away. We're not wasteful. We recycle. We're like, so he brings it over here. And then I'm always like, well, what am I going to do with it? And I'm always like trying to figure out a way of using it. So when he brought this over here, it was just legs and then the butcher block top. And it was like for somebody's garage. It was probably for a man, just for his tools or something. So then pretty soon I was like, okay, I kind of need an island, so I'll just bring it in here. So then I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, it's not too bad. It's nice height, a little high. And I'm like, but it needs shelves. So then I put these two shelves.
Yeah. Down and show the shelves?
Yeah. So then I put these two shelves down below. So I'm like, oh, okay. So now it's looking more like a center island. Nice big shelving. I painted them, which it wasn't easy putting those things in there. I had to
little metal brackets.
I had to drill into the metal and, whatever. But, I did it. Whatever. You know me. I'm determined. I'm like, I did it. So I'm like, okay, now it's looking more like an island. I'm really loving this thing. So then, now that I'm loving this thing, like got it all loaded down, he needs the top. So I'm just
money was tight and we had to sell my house.
Yeah, because sometimes the money's good, sometimes money's
Selling my
tight.
house was like mission critical.
So then he takes the top. Well, I'm like, okay, I took the top. So I had this big pink stone. It probably weighs like 200 pounds maybe. It's like an inch thick, beautiful pink stone. And so I was like, well, whatever. I'll just put the pink stone up here for now, and because it's plenty of room. And even though part of it was bare, it looked ugly, I just had the big pink stone up. So finally, I was like that for like a year and a half, a year. I'm like, I'm done. I'm sick of looking at this thing. I'm just going to get a piece of plywood and just have the whole thing covered. At least that'll look decent until I can get like a nice long white piece of granite for the top. Okay, so I'm here alone, right? So I'm like, I'm going to get this piece of stone out of here. So I'm in my bra and my underwear because I'm home alone. I'm working. So I get this thing and I like scoot it to the edge and I'm just like, this thing's heavy. I'm like, maybe I better put some shoes on. So I go get my sneakers because this thing is heavy. I'm not sure I can lift it, just slide it to the ground. I know I can't lift it. I'm like, maybe I can just like slide it to the ground. So I get my sneakers. So I come back over here and I'm just like, try to lift it again. And I'm like, oh, maybe I better put something on the floor in case it, I don't want to break my tile. So my sister had just sent me like this little goodie box with little cute stuff for me in it. So I'm like, okay, let me get that box and put it under here just in case. So I'm like, okay, so here we go. So I get this stuff, like slide it over here. And I'm like, oh, it's just getting heavier and heavier. And I'm just like, let me try to turn it so the point goes down first. It'll be closer to the ground. And I'm just like, oh, it's going. I cannot hold it. I just can't hold it. It's so heavy. So it's closer to the ground though. And it just boom goes to the tile. It's on the cardboard box though. And I'm just standing there for a minute. And I'm just like, oh, I'm afraid to look under there. I'm afraid to look. So I'm just like, oh, okay, let me move it. I'd worked so hard to do this tile in here, like so hard. So I move it, ta-da! Nothing. It didn't even crack my tile. Like, couldn't even tell. I can see where it landed, but nobody could tell where it landed. I was like, whew! So I dragged that thing outside and now it's out in my barn because it's such a beautiful stone. I want to keep it for something outside, I'll have a little table or something.
You could have brought your wheelbarrow in here and put it in the wheelbarrow.
What, to move it? Once it was on the ground, I could just walk it kind of.
Your garden cart though, could have just put it in that,
from
landed
here
it in there.
into the garden cart?
Just push it right up there and
But the garden cart's not big enough. That's the problem. That thing always tips over, that garden cart. It would have been a disaster. It worked out fine. Worked out perfect. Like my father used to say, all's well that ends well. So anyway, I got it out of there. So I went and I got this piece of plywood. And, there's a million different pieces of plywood. When you go to the store, some are sheathing, some are for painting, there's just a million different kinds of plywood. There's like oak plywood, there's maple plywood, there's pine plywood. Some of it is knotty. You can just see knots all through it. So I'm like, well, I want to get kind of a decent looking one just in case it's on here for a while. You know what I mean? I don't want to be looking at this super ugly piece of plywood. because there's so much to do before I get like a stone. That's like down the list at this point. So anyway, I just got 1/2 inch and then I just sanded it a bit and then put the butcher block top like sealer on it just because, you know, it is for cooking. And then they're done.
Is it screwed down?
It is screwed down just so it won't slide off. It's got 3 screws in it. It's got one here, one there, and one there. So like you could kind of move that corner a little bit if you lifted it. You know what I mean? Just so it can't slide off. I didn't want to screw it down. At first I was thinking maybe I should glue it down, but I'm like, oh, if I ever want to get it off there, you know, I can just unscrew it. So anyway. Okay, so that's the story of the countertop. But anyway, it works for now. You can't be too picky. When you're a homesteader, you can't be too picky. You got to just make things do, make things work, and then, you know, that's it. Because I've decided I don't even want a stove. I don't want a big stove with an oven. I'm like an expert at cooking on that hot plate. I have that hot plate and I have that quick pot thing to make meat in. I can cook for 10 people without a stove, honestly. I can cook such big meals, home cooked good meals. So really what I'm missing is I need a good like little toaster oven. So I looked them all up and that's what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get a little Cuisinart toaster oven that does multiple things. You know, it'll air fry, and as long as you can fit a whole chicken in there, because I do like roast chicken, and I'll make that for dinners for people. I have a few friends that like my roast chicken dinners. So as long as it can fit a whole chicken in there, which this particular one I want can, I'm like, I do not need a big stove in my kitchen. I can just have the Cuisinart on the counter and that's good enough for me. Like simple, keep it simple. I'm like so much happier with it simple. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I was going to still talk about downsizing too. Here's the funny thing. Once I put a lot of my stuff away because of the move, because you know, things like rattle around, it is so funny. Like it looks more roomy in here, feels more roomy, and then like I'm like living with all that stuff put away, so then I'm like, well, obviously I don't need that stuff and I don't use it. So like I can't even remember what it is at this point. It's like all in the boxes, and then you're like, do I even really need all that stuff? Because as I was putting stuff away, I was like getting rid of a lot of stuff and giving it to the Goodwill. But it just makes me think about how amazing it is, the stuff we collect. Like just stuff we don't really use, we don't really need, and how cluttered up it gets the house, you know, how cluttered up the house looks. It's just astounding, and how fast it happens though, because I went out yesterday again and I'm just looking around and I don't know, we can't help ourselves as humans, I think. We're just like, oh, everything you see, you know what I mean? You're like, gimme, me. It's so surprising.
We got a new channel member, Mary R.I. Ree.
Hi, Mary Ree. Thanks for joining. So, what I was going to say is, once you downsize and declutter, though, oh my gosh, I come home now with a lot of my stuff put away, and I'm just like, oh, it feels so good in here. It just looks cleaner. It's like less cluttered. Like your mind is more clear. So it's so funny. So once my cabin is over there on Homestead Park and I start like putting my stuff up again in a way when I can, you know, go through the boxes, I'm going to go through that stuff again and thin it out even more and like, you know, go through stuff even more, because it is so surprising how much stuff we collect and clutter. It's like I have a small house and I just don't like a cluttered house. I was showing some of my friends. I'm like, come over to my...
We got a question from our channel member, Tammy.
Okay, Tammy.
And Tammy says, Tammy's talking to somebody else. But they're talking about getting the Broody hen to hatch other eggs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can do that for sure. You definitely can do that. Just put them under her. What I'll do, though, is a lot of times I will mark them just with a Sharpie on the end. And that way, like if I'll have a black Sharpie and I'll just mark them on the end and I'll write the date on the calendar. So you don't want to keep adding them under her, though, because once she's sitting, like let's just say on Tuesday the 5th, you mark 4 eggs and you put them under her. You know, in 28 days, those are going to, and 21 days, those are going to hatch. So like 5 days from them, on the 10th, you can't add more, because what'll happen is those chickens will all hatch at different intervals, and that's not how it happens in nature, unless you take them away from her. If you want her to raise them, they have to all hatch together, and then she'll raise them, and they'll be so healthy and just be awesome chickens. But you can't have like some hatch out, on the 5th, and she'll raise them, and then have, some hatch out on the 8th or the 10th. Well, you can say the 8th, but the 15th, you can't do that to her, because she's going to be like, huh? She won't do that. So, mark your eggs, mark on the calendar when, and she will hatch those. But they have to all hatch at the same time, is my point, under her. Or if they all hatch, you got to just give them a while, and then you can take them away from her. But I mean, I don't do that to the hen. She works so hard to hatch them. She wants them, and she will take better care of them than you do. So
Gage wants to know if you can hatch bantam eggs with a normal sized chicken.
Yeah, she will. Yes, a normal sized chicken will hatch them. And she'll take care of them too. If she hatches them, she'll take care of them. So cute. Those bantams are adorable. Just so cute. Ours is so cute. He's just like, we're going to call him bun size. He's just like so little. He's just like a little handful. We get a kick out of him every day.
We got a $5 super chat from Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne.
Good morning, Becky. My chickens are 14 weeks old. Is it still too soon to start them on the oyster shells? Thanks for all your great advice.
It's never too soon. Just put it in there. There's little pieces, medium size, big pieces. They'll start getting what they need. And I gotta tell you what I do. Like, I will introduce, like, people will introduce the whole oats, the whole corn. And it's so funny, because when I put anything new in there, starting from when I buy them, this is of course not with the mother, but when I buy little chicks, I'll put a little pile of something down there, and it's so funny because I'll go like this with my finger, like I'm a chicken, and move it, and they all like run over there, and then I'll go like this, like I'm eating it. It's almost like I'm telling them, you scratch it and then you eat it, and they will copy that. They know what that is. It's so funny, and they'll start doing it. So that's how I like help them to introduce new food. So I would put the oyster shells there, and then just, of course you're not gonna go like this and fling it across the box or the yard, but just do it a little bit, and then just go like this and act like you're eating the oyster shells, and then they'll start doing it. It just like helps them like see what they're supposed to do with it. And like already kind of, even if they don't have a mommy, they kind of look to you. If you spend time with them and do stuff with them, they kind of look to you, as mommy hen. So that's what I do to mine, and it works. It works perfect. So you could do that. But yes, I say, it's the sooner you introduce stuff to them, the better. And you might not see them eat it, and you might not think they eat it, because they're not going to eat a lot of it. It's not like they eat a tablespoon of oyster shells. They're going to eat 1 or 2 little pieces. So you might not see that, but trust me, they get it and they need it. So, put it in there for them. Just make it available. That's the key. Make it available. They will get it when they need it. That's what you have to do. That goes with regular grit. It's the same way. You don't have to give the chick grit like, oh, they're still little, give them the chick grit. You only have to buy 1 bag of the chick grit. I just get the smallest bag of the chick grit. I don't buy a big bag. As soon as that's gone, I just switch them to the regular granite chick grit, the regular size. Again, there's like small pieces, medium pieces, and big pieces in there. And they'll get the pieces they need and they want to eat. And just make it available. I just throw it in the run on the ground like it would just be in nature. And they will, they're constantly picking around. It gives them something to do. They'll find it themselves and eat it. Some people say put it in a dish or a bowl. They don't have to eat everything out of a dish or a bowl. They're not a person, they're a chicken. They have natural instincts to scratch and pick around and search for stuff. So that makes them healthy to like scratch around and pick for stuff, even in the run. So I just scatter stuff in the run all the time. And so mine are always in the run, like scratching around, looking, seeking, picking around. And that is what makes them, first of all, gives them exercise, and it just makes them happy and healthy. So just do that with everything. You can do that with the grits, the oyster shells, the food you feed them, all that, except of course your water. You're just going to have clean water at all times for them. I like to do a big water bowl personally. Not too deep, but big and just nice and clean. They never run out of it. It's always there. They love to. Mine's tall enough. Not for baby chickens though, but for adults. It's tall enough they like stand on the edge, and it's like the water cooler at work. They just love that thing. 2 of them will sit on the edge, they'll be drinking out of it, and they'll just sit there for a minute. And you might think they'll turn their butt around backwards and poop in it, but they never do. Never. They always sit the right way. And they'll drink, and sometimes the 2 of them will just kind of sit there for a minute, and I'm like, yeah, they're relaxing around the water cooler having a chat. They're just so funny. So, you want to just try to make it like emulate nature the best you can in the coop. That'll keep them healthy.
Ben wants to know when his ducks are going to start laying eggs. They
Ducks?
are, it doesn't say how old they are. Oh, 5 months old.
Wow, I am stunned they're not laying already. Ducks lay eggs way earlier than chickens do, and ducks are prolific egg layers. Ducks lay lots of eggs. So maybe are they caged up? I mean, if they're already like loose running around, they might already be laying eggs somewhere. You just haven't found them. Or if they're caged up, I don't know, maybe they're stressed out and not happy. Ducks like to hide when they lay eggs. They're not like chickens, they don't like commotion. My ducks always find, well, think of ducks in nature. The mother duck, you never see her. She's like literally camouflaged like in weeds, tall weeds. You like don't even see her. So that's how ducks are. They want to be even more private than chickens when they lay eggs. That's how my ducks always were. And if they get a good spot like that, look out. You'll have 1,000,000 duck eggs. They're prolific egg layers. They just lay. It's just nonstop. And all advice I can give you is don't let them hatch all those eggs. You will have 1,000,000 baby ducks. And it's actually not that easy to get rid of baby ducks. Because you'll be like, how do you rehome, 25 baby ducks? And so you could just take all those eggs, you could use them and eat them or sell them or something. And also, when they're first born, the male duck is okay with them, but as soon as they're like not even that old, like maybe 2 weeks old, maybe younger, the boy duck starts being really mean to him, the father, and he will actually kill him. He starts attacking them. So you have to get daddy duck away from the baby ducks, or he's gonna hurt them. Because I guess he's jealous. He wants his woman back, so he is like trying to get rid of those ducks, the babies. It is a little weird that way with the ducks. So that's the duck story. Ducks are different than chickens. That's why I don't ever put ducks in the chicken coop. Ducks are different than chickens. So if your ducks are 5 months old and not laying, that's probably why. You might be treating them like chickens. Now they eat the same food as chickens. I always fed my ducks the same food I feed the chickens, but I never kept them in the coop together at all. Okay, so anyway, I don't know any other questions. I'm not sure what else to chat about. I worked so hard this week. I was like, I should have done a little research on some questions I should answer online here while I'm talking to everybody, because I usually like go through and try to find like the most asked questions, because I get so many emails.
Well, it is starting, some people have been saying it's actually getting down into the 40 degrees at night. Mm-hmm. So we could talk a little bit about getting your chickens ready for the cold weather.
Yeah, in some places it is getting colder at night. And the thing is, what you have to do now is it's more important than ever to make sure you're feeding your birds, all your birds, I'll just say birds, because it doesn't matter if you have like guineas, ducks, chickens, like it doesn't matter what breed or what size chickens. You want to make sure you're double, triple sure you're feeding them meat every day. They need that animal protein, because what that's going to do is when the weather's changing and it's getting chillier at night, that's going to make sure they have enough protein in their body to grow in the extra winter coat, the down feathers. It is going to keep them warm all winter. Now is the time for that to happen, and that now is the time they need that extra protein to grow in those downy feathers. People worry so much about the cold weather, but if the animal has the proper nutrition, it'll just be like, we see it with our chickens even here, because we don't do anything to actually winterize. Like we don't put a heat lamp on them or anything. We just make sure the coop, try to keep your coop wooden, and so wind can't blow in. You don't want any wind or rain or anything blowing in. They have to be able to get away from that. And then feed them properly. They will grow in a very thick, downy winter coat, and that will keep them warm. We all know that. What do they make warm winter jackets out of? They make it out of down. They make it out of those little feathers. There's nothing warmer than that. Down pillows, down comforters, down jackets. Like that's what they use because it's so warm. And that's what you're trying to do, is feed your chickens properly so they grow in plenty of down. And then they have the outer feathers, which like covers all that. So your chickens can be quite warm in cold weather if you feed them right. And so for the floor of the coop, what I always do, what I would do, because I don't need to do that here, but up north, I would put thick wood chips. You know what I mean? Just get wood chips somewhere. Thick ones though. Like I would just go buy the horse shavings. So put them down like 6 inches thick. And then on top of that, just get like a bale of alfalfa and just pop the bale open, and just, who cares what it does? It's just gonna go everywhere in there, but let it just go everywhere in there. And because in the spring, you're just gonna clean all that out of there. So, they're gonna eat a lot of that anyway, which is gonna be really good for them. And it's just gonna help keep them warm too. All that's just gonna be good for them to walk on and eat. So that's what I would do. I think the key is don't have like an overcrowded hen house. Winter time up north is when they're going to have to spend a lot of time in the hen house. So, you don't want an 8x8 hen house and have like 20 chickens have to live in there all winter. They're going to be crazy in there. You know what I mean? They're not going to be happy there. They're going to start getting grouchy with each other. They're going to just start like how we do when we're crowded in the car on a long trip. You're just too close to everybody. You just start getting grouchy. You're like, get away from me. I need some space after a while. Well, animals are the same exact way. So they just need some space. So, maybe you're going to have to, if you are a little overcrowded like that, you're just going to have to go out there with a snow shovel, and you are just going to have to like shovel the chicken run, some space, and on a sunny afternoon, you're just gonna have to let them out as much as you can so they can get out in the sunshine, stretch their legs, and get out of that hen house. You have to do some snow shoveling for your chickens. If you do it right though, and you do everything I'm saying and take good care of them, you could get eggs all winter. You actually could get eggs all winter. So just see how it goes. You might be surprised. Although sometimes, I've had my eggs all winter, and it's so weird because the eggs will be frozen. I'll have to bring them inside, and nothing happens to them. I'll bring them inside, they're frozen, and I'll just, leave them on the counter, they thaw out, and they're perfectly fine. They're perfectly usable.
Okay, well, it's been 35 minutes. Do you want to keep going, or you want to?
No, today we're going to stop 30 minutes today. That's what we're doing. So I'm so glad everybody joined us, and we will see you next Sunday. Happy homesteading. Bye-bye.